Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. If you guys enjoy the content you see, click that like and subscribe button down below. And without any further ado, let's get into today's video. So I know I'm a little behind on the topic for this week. This came out a little bit earlier this past week into last week. Now, this news had come out after GTA 6 was announced for an official release date, but not only that, GTA 6 is now said to be a digital-only game release. That means there's going to be no physical copies at all. There's going to be no physical discs. This is something, especially that mainly Sony has been experimenting with. And not only that, there are many gamers out there that are pumped and ready for Grand Theft Auto 6, making their pre-orders as of right now. They said they sold like over 1 million or 2 million copies within the first 24 to 48 hours. But not only that, Rockstar came out and said, hey, there's going to be no physical copy of Grand Theft Auto 6. So now you got people that are questioning and people that are really upset. Many gamers are really upset about this. And not only that, just days after the announcement of Grand Theft Auto 6, Sony came out and said, guess what? As of January 2027 or 2028, hey, there's going to be no more physical discs made for the PlayStation consoles in the future. Now, this has a lot of gamers enraged, a lot of gamers that are upset, pissed off. Gamers, especially gamers like me, who have been playing the consoles from Sony since the beginning of time. That's right. We play PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've played all those console types. I've played the slim versions. I've even seen the PlayStation 3, the original fat format, have its hardware failure alongside the Xbox 360 in the original days. Trust me, I've been there. I've played them all the slims. And don't get me wrong, Sony has made a phenomenal gaming experience over the last 30 years with each of their consoles. And now you got the PS5, which has not only a physical based but a digital based console that they are selling for the past 2 or 3 years. And now with the way gaming media has finally evolved, the way music has, the way movies have, it's entered the digital era. But games have always been digital for the last 20 years on Xbox and PlayStation with indie releases, smaller titles and such. I guess it means it makes it cheaper for them. They don't have to worry about the cost of making the games on discs, the cost of the cases, the booklets, all that stuff. You could just make a game, import it to a console, sell it for a set price, and then you're making profit off of that. But there's many gamers out there, including myself, are like, hey, we love collecting physical games for so many reasons. You know, physicality of media, even though everybody sees it going away over the last 5 or so years, even 10 years, people always said, hey, Blu-ray and DVDs, they're not going to make those anymore. About 5-10 years ago, they said that audio CDs were being phased out because everybody's listening to streaming services like Spotify, iHeartRadio, SiriusXM, Pandora, and such, and especially platforms with YouTube that offer music services on there as well. People can find hundreds upon thousands of songs at their demand. The only problem with that is a lot of your streaming services don't include things that you are searching. That's right. When it comes to audio, hey, maybe your favorite band, you're looking for that one particular album that you're looking for, but guess what? None of your streaming services carry that album. Where are you going to find it? Well, you may be lucky to find it on YouTube, but for most of us, if we collect audio CDs, you'll be able to find that CD out there. Why is this? Well, it's because of copyright issues. Yes, a lot of these streaming services, they have to pay a fee in order to stream your favorite music, movies, and games to their services. If they cannot acquire the copyright to it, guess what? You're not going to have access to it digitally. that is one big reason why physical media is a must. That is why people still stick around with physical media. Even though, yeah, it may clutter up your shelves and your bookcases, there may be so much to physical media to where people are like, damn, I got so much clutter in my house or in my room, I need to find a way to store all this. But you know, there are pros and cons to both sides of the pendulum, especially with digital. Now, a lot of people look to digital as being a very convenient source for accessing music, movies, and of course, video games at the touch of a button. And it's been like that for so long, especially with Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony. You could just go into the store and you can buy a game for its set price of $59.99, $69.99, whatever the price. You can buy it digital, especially with services like Xbox, where if you buy the game plus a $10 extra add-on to it, you can have access to the game digitally 7 to 10 days before it comes out. So which means you got people out there that are playing games 10 days before the game comes out for everybody else. It's an asshole move, yeah. But if you're looking for that one game that you're very particular about and you want to play, guess what? What's $10 more going to kill you to play a game digitally? Now, can you do that with physical? Hell no. Hell, back in the day, I had a store up the road from me. They're closed now, but they used to sell physical games at least up to 2 weeks in advance for people. The only thing is, you have to pay $20 extra for it before just to have it, and then you could take it home and play. Yeah, no big deal. But guess what? If you're an achievement hunter like myself or whatever, guess what? The achievements are going to be locked. Multiplayer is going to be locked. People will be asking, how the hell are you playing this game 2 weeks before the actual release date? And not only that, companies like that, stores like that can get flagged. But now, however, the pendulum has finally come down after everything, after so many years, 3 decades, 4 decades, whatever. Yes, Sony is now axing the physical media format for gaming. And yes, it is a complete bummer for a lot of us, especially people who do collect games and do fall in the category of, okay, maybe a friend of mine wants to try the game out. Maybe I want to trade this game with a friend. Maybe I want to sell this game along, down the road. You buy a physical game from GameStop or Best Buy or Walmart or whatever. You get done with it, and it's like, okay, I don't want to be stuck with this game. I'm done with it. I have no more use for it. What am I going to do with it? Okay, maybe I'll sell it to a friend. Maybe I'll give it to a friend. Maybe I'll trade it in for another game in the future. Maybe somebody would like to have this game. Guess what? That's all done and over with. That's all in the past right now. Especially with a lot of stores like GameStop. Yeah, they closed down a lot of their shops. Even the one up the street from me closed down just a couple months ago. And it's very heartbreaking too. To see something like that from our childhood as we grow into adulthood. You see something that has been a childhood playground for us when it comes to video games being shut down. But then you got physical media that's ending very soon, and that is a complete bummer as well. Like I said before, even though digital media can be very convenient for people, it makes it easier to buy and have access to it day one or maybe even days in advance. And of course, games nowadays, they're pretty big files. Yeah, you remember, within the last 30 years, up to about 10, 15 years ago, games, they were all on discs. Now you have to install a game that's more than 10 gigs. And a lot of games nowadays, like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Battlefield, they're well over 100 gigs of space. And of course, consoles that you acquire today, the new Xboxes, the PlayStations and such, they only offer a 1 terabyte storage device. 1 terabyte doesn't get you very far, especially with today's type of software. You're required to have an SSD drive, something that transfers data at a fast rate. I'm talking for 4K graphics, high definition display, video and such. quicker load times, faster load times and such, resume times for certain games, all the good stuff that the consoles are offering right now, but a lot of them don't even know how to incorporate with those games, as they advertise them well in advance. But yeah, you would think that. No. Well, a Blu-ray disc can only hold up to 5 to 10 terabytes of space, which is, it's a lot of space. But then you got big games out there that are like 20, 30, 40 gigabytes big. Why does it got to be so big? Why does a game got to be so fucking big? If you got a console like I got an Xbox One X right here set up, and I got a Series X set up in my living area. Now, 1 terabyte is not going to carry you that far, especially with games that are 100 to 200 gigabytes of space. That's why a lot of people resort to getting external drives. The only problem with that is you cannot play Series X or PS5 games on an external drive because it's slower transfer with the data. There's not fast enough data transfer with a USB drive. However, you can transfer them over as storage, which is a plus. But if you want to play a certain game that's on your external, but your SSD drive is full up, you would have to delete or move something in order to move that game over, and that can be very time consuming depending on the transfer speed. You could take a game that's 50 gigs big, and it'll take anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes to transfer depending on the console, depending on the transfer speed. And by the time it's done transferring, you're just tired out of waiting. You're bored, you find something else to do, and you're like, fuck it, I ain't playing this shit today. I'm just going to let it transfer and I'll play it tomorrow or some other day. Now, like I said, there are some pros to having a digital-only library. Now, like me, I have a digital-only library on my Xbox where I can access a ton of games at my demand. And don't get me wrong, I do have some physical games for Xbox, but there is a list of things that I want to go over with y'all as to why physical media is more important than digital media. So first things first, if you have an account with Microsoft or Sony, and let's say now there's been a lot of DDoS attacks here lately where Xbox has been going down, PlayStation has been going down, passwords have been getting leaked. Let's say your account gets hacked. Let's say if you don't have a two-step verification system on your account to keep it protected online, somebody can hack your account. If they hack your account, get a hold of your information, delete your account in any way, guess what? All those games that you paid for, it could be hundreds of dollars worth of games that you paid for. Guess what? You no longer have access to all that shit. That's right. If your account gets hacked, not only get hacked, if it gets suspended or banned by Microsoft or Sony for any reason at all, guess what? All those games that you own digitally, they're all gone. That's right, you have no access to them anymore, which means you would have to create a whole new account and you would have to buy those games all over again. So if you paid $1,000 for so many games, ranging from Call of Duty to Battlefield to Halo, whatever you're playing, whatever system you're playing on, guess what? You lost all your games, you lost all that money, and it becomes, it's a real shame. Where at least, 20 years ago with Xbox 360, if your account got hacked, no problem. Just create a whole new other account. You still got your games at your demand. The only thing you had to do was say goodbye to your old account, start all over. But hey, sometimes starting over can be a whole new good experience for you, and it can be a lot more fun. But it is not fun when your account gets hacked, banned, or suspended because all those games, all that data, the DLC, whatever that you have acquired, with purchasing, it all went down the shitter, guys. The second thing is, and this has been brought up by the company Ubisoft within the last couple years or so, where they try to tell gamers, you don't own your games. If you buy them digitally, you're only buying just a piece of that copyright, but you do not own it. You are paying outright full price for a title, no matter what it is, just to have access to it, but you don't truly own it. Companies like that, they don't want you to own games anymore. They don't want you to have ownership of anything like that anymore. Which means, hey, they could come in and say, well, you bought a copy of Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? You don't own it, but you can have access to it. And then 5 years from now, when Ubisoft decides to delist that game from Microsoft or Sony stores, guess what? If you don't have it installed on your console, but you accidentally delete it at some point, guess what? You're shit out of luck. You will have no access to it whatsoever anymore, because Ubisoft decides when you should play it and how long you should play it for. They don't want you owning anything. And especially when, if you have games you want to install and play again, but you uninstalled them to make space on your hard drives, guess what? You are required to have an internet connection. So if you're in an area where you don't have an internet access at all, not a single Wi-Fi or hotspot connection, guess what? You're not going to be able to download that game. Even if it's an online only game where you play online or need online access, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that anyway. I mean, hell, most of the library today for both consoles, even Nintendo, they require some kind of internet connection. So it's like, gone are the days for offline, even the couch co-op games. You know, they don't believe in offline campaigns much anymore. Everything's got to be connected to an online server. But that's the other thing, though. You know, that when we're not going into, like, you know, offline play, we're going back to, if you own a game, if you bought a game and you need or want to install it, you have to have an internet connection to install the game, which sucks. Whereas 20 years ago, when you had Xbox 360 and PS3, the game was on the disc itself. You didn't have to worry about installing anything. But then once you got to Xbox One and PS4, the games were so big, even though some of the data was still on a disc, you still had to install the game to the hard drive and download day one patches and updates and such. So even though for the newer consoles you could have the physical disc, but for whatever reason you have to still install the data. You cannot play right off the disc. But the good thing is, you still have the disc, so if you uninstall the game, you need the game to install, you need a disc to install the game, and plus, you may still need a disc to play the game as well, which is another win for physical media over digital media. Another thing is, you cannot trade, sell, or lend your digital copies to any of your friends. You can't sell it to anybody at all. Because not only because it's digital, but because you don't own the license to it. You pay $60 for a copy of Assassin's Creed Shadows, but you don't own it. But hey, maybe a friend of yours wants to borrow it, right? Nope, no can do. However, there is a slight loophole for you Xbox fans. If you game share, that's right, if you have your account logged onto their Xbox console and set their console to your home console, they don't have to have access to your account. They can have their own account on there, but they can have access to all your digital media. So that's one way that you can let your friends play your games. However, with Microsoft, you can only do that with one Xbox. You can't do it with multiple. Now, I'm pretty sure in the future the new CEO may change that up. I have no idea. But as of right now, that's the only way you can game share with a friend of yours, is to do that. It's ridiculous, it's crazy, it's absurd, but that's the only thing. But, you know, in the end, like I said, you know, you can't sell, you can't trade your games. You know, what do you do when you buy a game that you don't play anymore, you don't want anymore, but you can't get rid of it? You can't sell it online unless they think of a way of selling digital media back to the corporations or the game companies or whatever. I don't know. But if you buy a game that is fucking terrible and doesn't play right at all, and there's so many glitches and bugs with it, guess what? You're stuck with it. It's in your library until your account gets banned, suspended, or deleted for whatever reason. The game is yours. But however, they say, the game is technically not yours, which goes into the next category of things when the game gets delisted. I've seen so many games get delisted from stores, and it's beyond belief. So if there's a certain game that you see on stores, you've been wanting to purchase that game to try it out, but then when you finally get the time or the money to buy it, you come to learn, hey, that game has now been delisted from the store. Delisted means the game companies take their titles off of game stores. They take it off the Microsoft store, the Sony store, Nintendo store, even Steam. If you play it on Steam on PC, they do the same exact thing. So now you have no longer access to a game if it has been delisted. The only way you can still have access to the title is if you have it in your digital library and if you have it installed on your console. You guys remember back to PS4 when the PT demo came out and they delisted it from the store? Well, so many people kept it on their hard drives and they can still play it to this day. As long as you do not uninstall it from your hard drive, you still have access to it, which is good. However, it does suck. It does suck really, really big monkey balls that when a game company decides when they want to take their games off of Microsoft or Sony stores. Recently, it was the game Battlefield Hardline, which you can still play the offline campaign. They just shut down the multiplayer after 10 years. And not only that, they delisted it from the store. The only way you can play it is if you either own it digitally or, luckily, if you own it physically. If you got a physical copy of Hardline, you can install it and you can play it to your heart's delight today. But that's what sucks about delisting titles from the store. You have no access to them anymore at all. And then, of course, I already covered this. Digital only means there's no other stores around where you can buy physical media at. You know, they're shutting down GameStops, or GameStop is changing their format around to where they're selling collectible items. They're selling trading card games like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and such. They're selling dolls and t-shirts. You very rarely see any physical media on their shelves at all. And that's what's killing their business right there. GameStop is about selling video games. If you don't have any video games to sell, but you're only selling Funko Pops, NECA figures, collectibles, Lego sets, and stuff like that, regular stuff that you can find in a Walmart, Target, Best Buy, wherever, that's what kills the business right there. That's why when GameStop changed their format, they pretty much committed industry suicide, as I'll call it, industry suicide. So now you got GameStops that are closing all over the country and probably in other countries as well. You know, it's sad. You know, farewell to the GameStops. And another thing, and lastly, I will cover no collector's editions. And this is a big one for people who love collecting the collector's editions of certain video games. And I'm talking about where you get not only the metal case with the disc in it, but you get a little an art book, you know, with the different art from the game. You know, you get a book with it. Sometimes you'll get like maybe a soundtrack. Most of the time you'll get a fucking statue, a small statue to go along with it. Maybe it's a character from a certain video game or whatever. But, you know, collector's editions, they've been a thing for so long. But I've never gotten into collecting those things because they're too damn expensive. Remember Fallout 4, where you were getting the Pip-Boy, the little thing that goes on your wrist that actually works and all? Yeah, they wanted $200 for that. You get the Pip-Boy, you get the game, you get an art book, you get a couple of things. That's it. But it was very neat. It was a pretty neat little thing. Hell, I think there was one where you bought a mini fridge or something like that. I can't remember what game it was. Now, There's going to be no more collector's editions of that. The only way you're going to get a collector's edition is digitally, and it's only going to offer you in-game items as maybe cosmetics for your character, or maybe extra soundtracks or such, maybe an art book that's digital that you can access and say, oh, look, the behind the scenes for the game, you know. Nobody wants to see that digital. It hits harder when it's something physical. And the other thing that I do miss, I truly do miss, especially when it comes to GameStop, are midnight launch releases. Yes, where people will stand outside in line for so long and wait for games, their favorite games, to come out at midnight. But not only that, you're meeting other gamers, you're meeting other random people, you're talking to other random people about your favorite video games. You're making new memories, you're sharing memories, you're meeting new people. I met a buddy of mine like that. We were at a midnight launch. We had so much fun. But that's all come and gone. It's the end of an era. It's the end of an era for something like that with GameStop, and it's the end of an era for physical media. And I've already just given you a list of things as to why digital media sucks, why physical media is important. There are a lot of people out there, they're pissed off as to Sony making this decision. It's a terrible decision. Maybe with all the backlash, maybe they will revert it, but I don't think so. Sony is all about making that money. They think they know what the consumers want. Hey, consumers want digital-only content. Yeah, they want to be able to access their digital games. But guess what? Physical media over digital media. It has its advantage, a lot of advantages to it. Am I upset about it? I am, yeah. Even though I don't do a whole lot of physical collecting, but if I were, yeah, I would be upset. And another thing I will point out is people have noticed, people have reverted back to piracy. Yes, piracy. There are websites, I shit you not. If you got, I'll link it down below in the description section for you guys. Go to a site called archive.org. I follow a page on Twitter where they link every single day certain games that you could download from this website, and you can go and you can download them for free to your PC. But yeah, piracy is making a big comeback when it comes to games, especially if you own a PC. I've already owned at least 3 or 4 games that I have downloaded right now from archive.org. You can go in there, you could download games. There's even PS3 games that they have linked on Twitter that I have yet to download, but they said it's been optimized for PC, so if you got a good running PC, if it's up to date, you should be able to play them, especially if they're PS3 based games. But that's what I'm talking about. If you're taking away physical media, you're telling people that they do not own digital content. Guess what? Piracy is it's on the rise. It's making a comeback. There ain't nothing anybody can do about it. When you make changes to things that people are already comfortable with, guess what? The history is about to repeat itself, and it's going to do it in a big fucking way. Well, guys, I reached the end of the video. It went on way too long than I expected, but I wanted to get a lot of information out there to you guys as to why physical media is important, why digital media is killing all physical media and such. Did you guys enjoy the content? Did you guys enjoy the video? Let me know down in the comment section. Once again, hit that like and subscribe button down below if you guys enjoy the content I put on this channel. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you on the flip.